Hey guys, Marlyn here. Welcome back to my channel. I have a new haircut since you last saw me right when I got back from LA. I went and, decided it was time and got a haircut. But today we're going to talk about au pair questions. So we're going to talk about, whether you should au pair, where you should go, what types of questions you should ask, a little bit about my experience, and just questions that other people have asked me, and then common questions that I've seen around. So the first question that I guess people ask is, how do you find a family? So the easiest way to find a family for me was to go to aupairworld.com, and I can link that in the description. Obviously, it's not sponsored, but that's how I got my au pair experience in Italy. I went through them, and I actually found them because a friend of mine from high school had gone through them. So it's a free website to use. It costs the family money, I think. So it's not like sketchy people can go up there and, steal you away. But that's going to be the easiest way to do it. You can also go through agencies, but those can cost money, and depending on your country, you don't need to. So I'm from the US, so we didn't have to go through an agency, but some countries you do. What should you charge your families? So that's kind of dependent on your experience and stuff like that. I didn't really give a price point, but they gave me a price. So my deal when I was an au pair was that it would be $400 per month. So being there, it's a little less than what you'd get nannying or babysitting in the US, which isn't too good if you're trying to travel around the country a lot, but you also have to think that they're paying for your food, they're paying for your board, if you have a cell phone that they use. My family, I didn't actually have a cell phone that I brought with me. Well, I brought my phone, but I didn't have service because I didn't want to pay for it, and I would just use things on Wi-Fi. So my family gave me a cell phone with service. So you're getting all those benefits along with your pay. So you should definitely ask about things when you're talking to families. But that's, your pay is negotiable, but you also have to think about the experience that you're getting. So where should you au pair at? So I chose Italy because I thought it was beautiful. You hear about Italy a lot, and my friend who I actually knew from high school, she actually went and au paired in Italy as well. So it was kind of an area that I already knew because I knew her, and she loved the experience that she went in. And my family, we'll get into this, my family was not happy about it, but we had a neighbor whose daughter lived in Italy, so that's kind of the only way that my dad was happy with me going and au pairing in another country. But so I just picked Italy because I love the place. Now, as for locations inside your country, I would try to get near a big city, or if a big train station so you can travel to other cities. So questions that you should ask the family. You should definitely ask them what you'll be doing. That is probably the main issue I had. And it's partly because I didn't ask what I would be doing, and partly because they didn't explain. But for the most part, my job was fine. But I don't think that things that I was doing was something that I would enjoy. I didn't have that much time to run around and go to other places. We did go to a big city on the weekends, which was great, because I could walk around all that I wanted. But as far as what I'd be doing during the weekdays, it wasn't too fun because it was a very small city. Luckily, I met Fernanda there, so if you go watch my Mexican vlogs, you'll see those, my vlogs in Go Mexico. Fernanda and I actually met in Italy because our families both lived in the same city. So that's how we met. It's a pretty cool story. So you might be able to meet lifelong friends while you're there. Ask about money, like I mentioned earlier. Ask how many kids they have. That's very important. Ask how old the kids are too. What else? Get references. Okay. So I made the mistake of getting a reference from an au pair from before one of the children was born. So, not to talk bad about the family or whatever, but I wish that I had gotten an opinion from someone who knew all three of the kids. I had 3 kids I was watching. and the oldest was 13. But I wish that I had had a reference from someone who knew all 3 kids and knew the family's dynamic that way. So, and they gave me references. You definitely need to ask for references. So, how to convince your parents? I guess that's a very big question if you live at home, but I was 19. And so this was college. I had just turned 19 when I decided that I wanted to do it. And it was the summer between college. So my college program, we have to have an internship our junior and senior year. So I'm doing that this summer. So this would be like my last chance to be able to au pair and stuff. So I decided, hey, I want to go to another country. I want to experience living in another country. So I'm going to go. And I told my parents, I was like, look, this is what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. My mom thought it was cool. She was a little worried. She thought I was crazy. She thought I wasn't going to do it. They think I'm not going to do these things, but I do. And then my dad said, hell no. My dad said he would not let me. And, I kind of told him, I was like, oh, that's nice, but I'm 19. You can't tell me what to do anymore. But yeah, I pretty much told them what I wanted to do, and my mom was on board after a while. My mom's a lot more adventurous than my dad is. But, and then when I told my dad it would be in Italy, when I found my family, we realized that where I'd be staying was only a little bit away from my neighbor's daughter that I mentioned earlier. So he was okay with that. He was like, here's her phone number. Don't forget it. Keep it in your luggage, hide your passport, whatever. But he also was only okay with it. And I say only okay because, it's not like you have a choice. But he was only okay with it if my mom went with me and met the family. So my mom and I got a really cool vacation out of it. We went for a week. We went to Rome first. We flew to Turkey and then we flew to Rome. And then we spent a bunch of days in Rome, and then we spent a bunch of days in Florence. So it was a really cool vacation for us. It was the first time that we had ever really gone on like a us vacation. So it was pretty cool to go with my mom, but crazy things happen. But on to that, safety. So make sure that your family is not crazy. Add them on Facebook, add them on Skype, talk to them multiple times. Don't ask for their social security number. I'm not sure if they have identification numbers like that in other countries, but don't be creepy. But, make sure that these people are who they say they are. You don't want to be in a bad situation. But like I said, in aupairworld.com, you can actually, the families have to pay. So I really doubt someone's going to pay if they're trying to kidnap you, but, just be safe. And that was my dad and mom's version of safety, was to come with me for a week, meet the family, make sure I don't get murdered, Okay, so after you know what family you're going to be going to, you need to look up the weather and the climate of the area. Italy was pretty much similar to North Carolina, so our weather here is pretty warm all the time. So I brought a bunch of stuff. In Italy, the way that they dress is different from the way that we dress in the U.S. It's a little bit more styling and profiling than it is showing off everything. So in Italy, I brought a bunch of dresses and, sundresses, and then, cute pants that I can wear with cute shirts, things like that. And then I'm obviously very white, so I brought a bunch of sun hats. Just bring cool stuff. And obviously, there were some days I didn't want to dress up. I wore some short shorts. I got some looks, but, they'll get over it. They know that they can tell if you're American, just being honest. Pretty much anyone from any country can tell, if you're not from there. So, but, don't be too intimidated. Just bring stuff that's, appropriate for the weather. Italy's pretty hot. Well, North Carolina is too. So their climates are pretty similar. But at nighttime, it does get a little cool. Gets a little cool. So now I guess we're going to go to specific questions that I got asked. someone asked, how long were you an au pair? Any bad experiences? And did you drive in your host country? And then also any cool places that you got to see during your stay. So I was an au pair for a month. I didn't really have any too bad experiences. They weren't horrible, but if you want to hear bad experiences, I can make another video about that. You know, that's a whole long story in and of itself, that whole thing is. But did I drive in my host country? No. They said they would teach me to drive, but then when I got there, they never got around to it, which is another reason I say stay in a big city, because where I was, you had to drive everywhere. And I didn't know how to drive a manual. You know, stick shifts aren't very common in the U.S., so I was kind of like SOL on that end, which sucked. But, you know, it is what it is. Any cool places I got to see during my stay? So I actually have a friend who lives in Croatia. Her name's Anna. Shout out to Anna. So I went and visited her after I had left Italy. So we actually met in an online art community like 5 years ago, and we had, you know, video chatted, voice chatted, have each other on Facebook, but we had never met in person. So I went and I met her there. But as far as inside of Italy, I wanted to go to the Carrara marble thing, but unfortunately I couldn't go to that. And then also Florence was beautiful. I liked Florence. Rome was amazing, you know, but the town that I was in was in the mountains of Italy, which was pretty awesome. It's beautiful views. You can see them on my Instagram. I might throw a picture up here. I think it's my banner on YouTube as well, but you know, it's amazing to get to see those type of views. So someone asked, how realistic is it to be an au pair with not much money? So like, you know, they're talking about paying your car bill and your rent and all that while you're gone overseas. Or, you know, neighboring country, whichever. For the U.S., it's mainly overseas if you're going to au pair. But so I was pretty lucky. I only had like a month or two left on my lease, so I didn't have to worry about that. You know, I just paid it through. But if you can't do that, then I would consider renting out your house, or, you know, letting someone stay there. Or if you do have a lease, you know, cut your lease. Try not to have any payments that you don't need. So like when I went over there, I didn't even have a phone that I was paying for anymore. You know, I'm not sure if we cut off service back in the US, but I didn't have any service in Italy besides the Wi-Fi from my phone. And to talk back home, I would use WhatsApp, I would text, and I would call. But pretty much, you know, if you need cell phone service, I would get it in your host country, because 10 times more likely that it will be cheaper in your host country than it is to try and get international calling for a month, 2 months, you know, a year, whatever your plan is trying to be. Did I speak Italian going in? So no, I didn't speak a lick of Italian when I decided to go to Italy. Now, when I decided I was going to Italy, I actually downloaded Duolingo, which I also used to practice my Japanese. I learned Japanese in high school, which I know a lot more Japanese than I knew a lot more than I knew of Italian. But I downloaded Duolingo and I just started practicing. In February was when I knew I was leaving, and I left in May. So I downloaded it and I, you know, started practicing words and sentences and listening to people talking. So I didn't speak Italian, but I could pick up words that people were saying in sentences. So I could get, like, you know, the nouns or whatever that people were saying. As well as the kids' grandparents, they only spoke Italian. So it was a little difficult, but, you know, when you're in a foreign country, you learn like that, especially if you're talking to people who don't speak English. Because when you're in a foreign country, they want to speak English, but you want to speak their language. You know, you want to learn it, or at least I would hope you would want to learn it if you're going to be an au pair. But, yeah, I didn't speak a lick of Italian. That's all the questions that I've gotten and that I've seen about being an au pair, or questions about it. If you're not good with kids, don't do it. I kind of learned that the hard way. I'm good with kids, but I don't necessarily like kids unless they're very well behaved. So I kind of missed the ball on that one because, you know, I've babysat kids throughout my life, but they're kids that I knew. So they're kids that I knew behaved very well. So I was kind of spoiled in that respect. And going to a family where the kids behave differently was a struggle. Just gonna say that. But, and I'll talk more about that in that video that I'm making about, you know, bad stories or bad experiences if you guys want it. But if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed me, please subscribe. Please subscribe down below. There's a link in my description, and then there's also going to be a little thing here. It's kind of, but there will be a little thing there. So please subscribe to my channel. I have more videos about this, and also maybe you'll get to go on travels, and maybe I'll inspire you. But I'll see you guys next week. Bye.